clarified by the Nigerian Commission in South Africa as being just a cultural festival after it spurred controversy and triggered violent protests. However, a group called March and March, led by Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, has called for more mass protests this week against illegal foreigners in South Africa.
And we're going to be taking our grievances to our government to tell them how fed up we actually are on the way that our country is going downhill and they're not taking things seriously, especially on the issue of illegal immigrants flooding this country, committing crime and doing all kinds of things.
All right, well, this has prompted the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, to issue a cautionary note to all Nigerians in South Africa. The advisory recommends that Nigerians in South Africa avoid confrontations and refrain from engaging with protesters, whilst urging business owners to keep their businesses closed from today, April 27, until April 29th. The consulate will, however, remain open during this period. Meanwhile, videos of Nigerians being harassed in South Africa have continued to trend online. Let's take a look at one instance.
So how come you are in South Africa selling clothes from Nigeria?
How come? Well, this is what I'm doing for living. I don't know what I'm selling clothes, but the only thing is what I'm doing to feed my children.
Where are your children?
They are in my house.
In my house?
Yeah, around here.
Here in South Africa?
Yeah, in South Africa here.
How long have you been in South Africa?
My son now, my first son is 18 years old. Just think about that.
From now on, no illegal foreigner for sell nothing.
You do not want any foreigners here?
Even this man know me very well.
No.
In the video, you can hear the man continues to plead, that's a Nigerian, saying no, he's not illegal. And they say, well, you must go home, take your children and take them back home. Well, meanwhile, videos of a group in Ghana called the Concerned Youth Alliance in Ghana held a protest in the nation's capital, Accra, calling for the expulsion of Nigerians, blaming Nigerians for rising crime.
Renting rooms for Nigerians. We should stop renting shops for Nigerians. Those who are selling lands for foreigners, they should stop. Foreigners who are buying land in Ghana, a time will come, we are going to take all those things back from you people.
All right, we'll take one quick reaction from X. Faduri says, we are one Africa, not strangers to each other. No African should be tagged foreigners on African soil. No African should be unwelcome in any African nation. No black brothers should ever suffer xenophobia and rejection from another black brother. Those are such beautiful words. I love how that user on X put it. But Dr. Abati, I come to you. The South African issue has been going on for a long time. We heard about some instances in Ghana last year, but to see that the issue is resurfacing again in Ghana is of huge concern just across the border. Your take on this issue? Okay,
first, if you look at the roots of Pan-Africanism and all these philosophical, ideological ideas leading to such ideas as the African Union, the creation of regional blocs like ECOWAS, like the East African Community, like the SADC, the whole idea, even, latest developments, some of the other projects. It's all about African integration, unity in Africa. Africans living in a territory that is known as the last frontier, coming together to project themselves, either at the continental level or also at the level of person-to-person diplomacy. But while, many of these regional bodies have spoken very well about the whole philosophy, whether it's Nkrumah or it is Muammar Gaddafi or African Nigerian leaders and all of that, it's not been able to get to the level of the people. And that's why you have all these issues, whether in Ghana or in South Africa or East Africa, black on black violence, black on black hate, black on black rejection. But the issue again is about the leaders. Because you have these problems when the leaders do not spread prosperity, when the leaders do not pay enough attention to the welfare of the people. And many of these hate politics among the people will seem to occur when there is economic injustice, when there is poverty, when there is deprivation, and then you have rivalry among the same black people whose leaders say should unite. To that extent, I think that we go back to the same leaders who envisioned the united Africa. They are the problem. Let me start with Ghana. In the case of Ghana, it was economic deprivation that even started the problem. In 1969, Kofi Busia was the leader of Ghana. He was the person who introduced what they call the Aliens Deportation Order, under which Nigerians were expelled from Ghana. Over 200,000 Nigerians who had settled in Ghana under Kofi Busia, who were driven away. In 1983, 1985, Nigeria retaliated because there was a lot of, suffering in Nigeria as a result of structural adjustment program, poverty. Nigerians now said, Ghanaians must go. Ghana must go. That's the origin of Ghana must go. That jute bag that has now become popular, that was a popular bag that Ghanaians were using to carry their things out of Nigeria. So, and then now, there's deprivation in Nigeria. Nigerians are going to Ghana, and then Ghanaians are saying, Nigerians must go, because Nigerians go there and take businesses and occupy space and buy land. They even accuse us of bringing crime into Ghana. They say, they have a popular saying, God is not an alata. In Nigeria, he's supposed to be an alata, whatever that means. And then if you go beyond that, you go to Equatorial Guinea, or you go to Guinea-Bissau, Nigerians also have issues with the local population. And then all the way to South Africa. I saw one video where one South African was saying, look, these Nigerians, they come here, they are living in penthouses. They are living in beautiful buildings. They don't even stop at beautiful buildings. They take all the South African women. And you know, Nigerians have something about South African women, knowing him very well, that South African women are, well endowed.
They carry their problems behind them.
Both frontally and, at the back, the rear, that is of a special category that attract Nigerians. So that in itself has caused problems. And then Nigerians also have the best shops. Why the local population is still suffering, has not gained anything substantial from the post-apartheid era. So they look at Nigerians, they say, these people, they are over enjoying this South African freedom. But it's not only Nigerians that they target. They target people also from East Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from other places. So the residual point is about unity among Africans. It's about the leaders in Africa making sure that person-to-person relation reflects, the larger ideal. NIDCOM has done very well. The consulate in South Africa of Nigeria has also done very well by saying Nigerians should be careful. April 27 is Freedom Day in South Africa, and they should not engage in any provocative behavior. They should avoid demonstrations already planned for 2029. So both the consulate in South Africa and the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, they've done very well by telling Nigerians, when you are in Rome, do as the Romans, respect their laws. And then, of course, what has triggered the recent target on Nigerians in South Africa is the introduction of a certain Ezendigbo, in Eastern Cape. Or East London, as they call it. But the Nigerian government has tried to deal with that. But there's nothing that diplomacy cannot resolve. So this is not the time to say, when South Africa was under apartheid, we supported them. No, people should listen to both the consulate and NIDCOM, saying, please, behave yourself, don't join demonstration, don't be provoked, just live quietly in another man's country.
Perfect. Very well said. Very well said. So we certainly do hope that this particular wave of protests will be peaceful because the last wave had left one Nigerian man dead. Now, Ayu, I'm going to come to you because I know your babies will very soon, in some short years, they'll be in nursery school. In a new video trending online, a mother of two is begging Nigerians for help, claiming that her life is under threat after posting a video of a nursery school English language foundation book meant for one of her sons that she believed was inappropriate for a 5-year-old in nursery 2. In this clip posted on her TikTok account on Friday, the woman questions the violent nature of the book before before also revealing the book's lawyers have been threatening, those are the publishers, have been threatening her as well. Let's take a look.
Look at what I read that made me came online. Once upon a time, there was an old man who had a very fat dog. The dog and the old man loved each other. One day, the old man kept a big meat near the fireplace and asked the dog to look after it. But the dog slept off and a thief came to steal the meat. This made the old man sad and then think he must punish the dog. The next day, he put an iron in the fire, and when it is very hot, he went to where the dog was asleep again and put it inside the nose of the dog. The pain made the dog run mad and ran away from home. This passage was what made me come online and ask, as a first-time mom, that my children are my priority. And I read this.
I mean, just imagine how graphically violent that narration is. Well, this video has generated over 2 million views on her TikTok page alone. On Sunday, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan defended her in a statement on her Facebook page, saying that any materials meant for children should be handled with sensitivity, and condemned the normalization of violence. But they say this book is supposed to have simple sentence structures, short words, so it's supposed to teach, proficiency in reading and so forth at this age. But I mean, I can't even recount that vividly gruesome story that's portrayed in this book.
As an adult, I'd avoid, because there's a lot of violence in the world. I try to just look at peace and love when I'm looking at literature, fictional literature. But thank you so much for bringing this story up. I saw it over the weekend as well, and I was taken aback when I heard the content of the book for a 5-year-old nursery school. So a number of things here before I go to even the larger, the other conversation on intimidation and threats by the publishers. Number one is that who is responsible for textbooks and oversight of textbooks for schools in Nigeria or schools in states? The first responsibility of schools in states is SUBEB, the State Universal Basic Education Board, the State Ministry of Education. It is devolved in that way. How did this pass through the ranks? Number two is that it's probably a private school. We've often talked about how a number of, especially low-income private schools, are largely under-regulated or even not regulated at all. So people just put up mushroom schools, and there's lack of oversight because there's a sheer number of them, and maybe lack of capacity or just people not doing their jobs. So that's another instance. As a parent, when you send your child to school, you want to assume that you're sending them in the best conditions, in trust of people who would take responsibility under strict regulatory oversight. But we've seen that fail, unfortunately, a number of times. So what I'll be calling for now is an investigation into, number one, how did that book get into the school? Number two, who are the publishers who actually signed off and agreed to publish the schools? Some people have even called for a review of their license to publish, because if they were, if they allow this book to go through, then there's a big problem. And let's even review some other books that they have released into the market for children. The other area, of course, would then be the school itself. Why did the school allow such a book to be read in its vicinity? You can publish a book, but the responsibility, or the school has a duty of care to its students to ensure that whatever material is being used in teaching or passing on a message ought to be child-friendly. How can you put a book that talks about torture? This is not just about animal cruelty, it is torture. And we know how impressionable children are. They want to practice a lot of the things. How many of us practice the things that we did? We'll back a child, mommy and daddy, will sweep, will do things that we saw in books. And so you can imagine when we're talking about violence and how the world has become so violent, and you're teaching young children this, every single adult or human being ought to be concerned about this. Then to a larger body, the Federal Ministry of Education, the Nigerian Education Research and Development Council, who is responsible for regulation and textbooks that are used in school curriculum, they should also investigate and look into this. Then finally, we have a culture of intimidation in Nigeria. We've seen this with the tomato tomato paste issue, with the bread issue, and now with the textbook issue, whereby you make a complaint. And by the way, books can be publicly reviewed. It's a public document. We see book reviews. I don't have to speak positively about your book. If I think it's not good enough, I should have a right to talk about it. But every time there's a criticism or a feedback based on, and it's not positive or it doesn't favor the product, all of a sudden we have intimidation, and sometimes they even use institutions of state to carry out intimidation. We need to check that as well, because people should be free to share and give feedback, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as education of young children. 5-year-old, for crying out loud. Every adult should should take responsibility, and most importantly, the state should investigate how this material got into the school and why the school is using it.
Exactly. And just to add that this mother, she started doing her investigations because her son tried to reenact what he had read in the book, and that's what led her to ask questions, to say, where did my son learn such behavior? Absolutely terrible. So I hope that is reviewed and that book retracted and edited before being reissued.
So can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Thank you for bringing up this story of the mother. This is why parents cannot outsource the training of their children. Yeah. If she didn't take time out to look at what her child was doing in school, she might not have found this out. And a number of people are busy. And I had to give parents some credit. Life, we had to work. But you had to also take out time to look at the things that your children are doing in school, because you are the primary caregiver and responsible person over that child. Absolutely. So kudos to that parent for, flagging this up.
Very well said, very well said.
Well, I don't really blame those countries and their people. Of course, we blame the leadership of Nigerians that are making her, citizens to run out of their country.